Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you, my friend, have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. You could email directly, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, because those both go to the same place. You could text our hotline, but even better, why don't you call it in to 325-305-6107. You know I love hearing your voice. I've learned recently not many people like hearing their own voice, but just leave the voicemail and don't listen to the episode or don't listen to that question. No, wait, listen to the episode, listen to the question, be involved, be engaged. That's what this is all about. Anyway, I am your host, Joshua Stubbe, and I'm so excited for this week's episode because I am joined. Let me actually get through the intro first. Our buddy Wayne Doucette is on the show. He is the 2025 Homebrewer of the Year, multiple gold medal winning homebrewer at NHC, which is coming up. We'll kind of talk about that too in your entries this year. And Wayne happens to be in the top 5 all-time most requested guests. And I don't just mean as in like, I mean, these are people like pie in the sky, too. They're like, oh, you should have on so-and-so. Like people that would never get in touch with me, which seems to be every commercial brewer I've been trying to reach out now. I'm looking at you, Boston Beer. You're dead to me. But anyways, Wayne, your pressure, not pressure, we're going to talk pressure today. Your pH episode, I get such good feedback on, whether it's in the YouTube comments or DMs, my text messages. People absolutely have loved having you on. So my friend Wayne, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Josh. I didn't realize that was that popular.
Dude, you are. You should. Yeah, you've got a family. Show them that you are something. You show them like, hey, look. Yeah, that's what I do to my wife, but she still thinks she doesn't think this is real. Like I'll show her good feedback and she'll be like, you paid some bot farm to say that. You're such a joker. I'm like, no, babe.
She's keeping you humble.
Oh, that could be, the title of a memoir for sure. Keeping me humble. My wife. Anyways, my friend, how have you been? First off, what a beautiful looking day it is over on your side. If people aren't watching at YouTube, he's sitting outside. It must be nice weather.
It's June or just about June, and it's been so cold. This is the first streak of really nice weather. And mornings in Minnesota, end of May, early June, it's just gorgeous. You just go outside and just beautiful.
It is enough reason to go to youtube.com/homebrew happy hour and look because it is beautiful. I'm assuming that you're on your own property. You're not squatting on someone else's property.
Yeah. My barn's in the corner there. You can see.
And that's where you record. That's where we did the last episode from.
Right.
And then I don't remember the first episode where we did that one from, though.
We did the first one in the barn. The second one was down my brewing dungeon.
That's what it
was so cold.
Yeah. It was so funny. I was telling you earlier before recording, and I'll just bring it up now. Next month, I'm going to announce a brand new grain sponsor that we have for the show, and I'm very excited. But one of the things about the logistics of bringing in malt is it's not cheap to ship, right? Like a 55-pound bag or 50-pound, whatever they come in. If you're not going to ship me just 6 bags a month or whatever, it's a lot. So we had to work out this deal where, you have to take a pallet, and it's either going to be like quarterly pallets or 3 times a year, or depending on needs. I'm not over at Cat Connection headquarters anymore. I don't have like the space like of a retail homebrew supply shop. So I was telling you I had to get in the immediate a temperature controlled storage unit nearby, and you were like, "Oh yeah, y'all got to worry about temperature down there." That's it doesn't probably what does the summer get up to? It doesn't get above 80 where you're at, or
this week it's in the mid 80s, and my wife says, "I can't believe how hot it's getting." And we're not used to Texas where it's triple digits, but it does get really humid, so can become pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but
we get triple digits. To be fair, last summer I would call reasonable, and so far we're not officially summer, obviously, but May has been pleasant here in Central Texas. I have not had a day I complained about, and in fact, I find more people complaining about the cold mornings. I'm like, guys, what are y'all? It's May. Why are y'all complaining? I love it.
That's so nice. Getting up in the morning and it's cool.
Yeah, my outside thermometer right now says it's 67 degrees outside. That is
we're warmer up here. I think we're at 79 right now.
Oh wow, yeah, you are, and we're here's my bad geography. No, we're both Central Time. That's right. We're both Central.
Yeah. So we're like north and south of each other.
That's right.
Yep.
I could take 35 and come visit you. That's right. Just hit
Yes.
35
Yep.
and just. This episode is brought to you by Cellar Science. For years, homebrewers have been told they have to choose. Do you want the quality of liquid yeast or the convenience of dry? Well, Cellar Science flipped the script. They're proving that dry yeast isn't just a backup plan anymore, it's the upgrade. Cellar Science offers premium dry yeast that delivers higher cell counts than typical liquid pitches, meaning you get a stronger, healthier fermentation without the hassle. And the best part? You can direct pitch right into your wort, no starters, no waiting, just brewing. Whether you need their new West Coast strain for a classic American IPA or jungle for a massive fruity estery flavor, they've got your next batch covered. It's quality yeast that doesn't break the bank. Save time, save money, and brew better beer with Cellar Science. Anyway, though, I'm so pumped to have you on. Before, obviously, I've been doing small talk. That's all I do now that I'm the solo person of the show. No one's here to rein me in. But I do have a little bit of relevant small talk before we get into the questions. I've had you on for this week. We're going to kind of focus on pressure fermentation questions that I've sourced because I love having input. You know, Trong has given his input on pressure. James and I, before I've done it, I like hearing from people, especially award-winning brewers, on like if I could do the techniques I'm doing better, and then even more so having you help me take my listeners' questions. It's just a boom, 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 win, win, win. But before we get to those, friends, go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join a recipe receiving tier, or if you want to just buy it outright and not support the show monthly, whatever. But you're going to get a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone. I'm calling it the West Coast Pale Ale. We have done it in the Chub Club before, but it's been a few years, and brought it back because, again, the idea this year was commercial clones of OG craft beer that have shaped the industry. And the first 3 months were strong with, oh, we're doing this, and I get to interview a brewmaster, and it's great. Boston Beer started the terrible downfall of not being able to get a brewer. And then Sierra Nevada was like, we don't have time for you. Whatever, guys. But still, it's a delicious beer. Patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join the recipe receiving tier. Thank you to our sponsors, Cellar Science, Brewer's Friend, Hopstrat.com, and Monster Brewing Hardware, of course, for supporting our efforts, making it possible. But more importantly, you, my friends, who are a member of the Chub Club, any tier, even the free tier, come join the community, support what I'm doing. I sincerely appreciate it. And before I move on from the recipe, I want to say the yeast came in. I've talked about it before. I think last week with Charlie, I said we're going to do the Velo strain. It is a West Coast strain, and it does well at a larger temperature range, 60 to 94. And because I'm doing pressure fermentation at 70-ish, which is not that far off of an ale range anyway, the guys over at Cellar Science were like, hey, let's do that. More exciting. The guys at Cellar Science were like, you know what? Also, you should do? You should send out a pouch. Can I get the focus? There we go. A pouch of our new instant water line. And we're going to send one for every kit you ship out. And it's going to be specifically for West Coast pails. So they've sent me 48 or 45 of these West Coast water salts, instant packs. Wayne, I'm catching up to times, man. I'm salting water.
Yeah.
Look at me.
The pale ale is an awesome beer because it's so easy to make. It's usually pretty forgiving. And then the water salts, just use RO or distilled water. Just throw that in there and you're done. Just go. Easy.
Easy peasy. And, you know, because of idiots like me, they have to put directions on here. And it does, it does say,
it's hard.
Add a packet to 5 gallons of RO or distilled water, stir to dissolve before mashing. Sedimentation is normal and does not impact performance. I was the idiot who asked you to make sure salting water pre-mash is the standard, right? That's what I should be doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And what you're doing is, first off, do it when it's cold, because if you have calcium sulfate in it, it doesn't like to dissolve warm. But once it's dissolved, it'll stay in solution. And the other thing you're doing is you're adding calcium to help the mash with the pH. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The next thing I need to do is take more pH readings. That's what like I told you, the positive feedback from your episode, and people are like, man, it changed my life. I got one of those pH meters, and I realized I was too low, or I realized I was too high, and like the difference it makes when your pH is on point is an immediate result. Like when your
it can be.
Yeah. And so,
especially the pitch. I've said before, the pitch pH is the most important.
yeah.
That is, it has to be right on. Well, not right on, but close. We talked about this before. It's like a hand grenade, You got to be within this range and you're fine.
Absolutely.
So 5.0 to 5.15 is perfect.
Absolutely. So yeah, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, my friends. And also that means Brew Day Live is coming up. If you're listening to this today, we are publishing it. It's tomorrow, May 29th, 2026 at 10 a.m. Central, right here, youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. Come join me and my pop as we are going to make the Sierra Nevada Pale Ale clone. And again, if you want to brew with us, you can join the club. It is last call because by the time next week's episode goes out, it's actually, when is June? What is today? Dude, since I've lost my job, I don't even know what day it is. Today's Wednesday that we're recording this. So yeah, Monday is June 1st. My gosh, where is the time going, Wayne? Where is the year going? We're already halfway done with the year. And what do I have to show for it? What do I have? Here's what I have to show for it. Before you got on the call, I looked at myself and I was like, are those gray hairs in my mustache? Or is that crusted milk from the last night's cereal that I had at 1 a.m? I can't even tell. Where's the time going, Wayne? What is going on?
Just go with the crusted milk. It's more dignified to say crusted milk. It might.
I do got to tell you, I might get feedback from people saying, that's invasion of privacy. Well, when my middle child was 9 or when she was 8, she left her iPad on her bed on top of her while she was asleep. So we're pulling it, tucking her in or whatever. She's already asleep and we're moving the iPad and she was journaling. And the entry she put on there was, the gist was like, I'm so upset that dad stays up late and waits for us to go to bed so he can eat all the cereal. That was what my 9-year-old wrote in her little journal pad on her iPad was dad stays up late so he can eat all the cereal. And that makes me mad. Yeah. I was like, oh, well, she's not wrong. It's true.
Well, sometimes it's nice eating cereal.
I'm addicted to sugar. It's an unfortunate reality. I'm totally, and that's an addiction too, not to digress even more than I've already done. No, everyone laughs at a sugar addiction. Like, oh yeah, I'm pre-diabetic. Ha, Josh, that's great. If I had a cocaine problem, people would be pulling me to the side, brother. Oh my gosh. Or even a drinking problem. Oh my gosh, this is an issue. But when I talk about my 5th bowl of cereal, oh, Josh, pudgy Josh, that's a good one. Anyway.
Did you put sugar in it too?
I don't have to. It's 100% sugar. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is nothing but sugar. Oh. There's nothing. I joke. I lie through my teeth that it's for the fiber, babe. Get me more Cinnamon Toast Crunch. It's for the fiber. I don't need that fiber. I don't need it. But anyway, yeah, I get my blood work done once a year. I'm not diabetic yet. I'm not stopping until I'm diabetic. But
you'll be fine.
And then, you know what? I forgot to mention too. You told me before recording, I want to mention on the show because it's an incredible achievement that unfortunately is not common anymore. You're about to celebrate 40 years of marriage this weekend. Am I correct?
Yeah, and I think we talked about it. I'm not sure if you should be congratulated or.
I was going to tell you, you're like.
No, my wife is she's
probably a saint, like my wife. But
yeah, she has to put up with a lot.
Yeah, you remind me of my grandfather and one of my favorite saints. My grandpa, my dad's dad, my favorite person on the planet, and miss him all the time. He's I think passed now 12 or 13 years ago, and he would tell people like his wife, his name was Vastine and his wife was Patsy, and he'd say, Patsy and I have been married for 42 wonderful years, and she'd go, Vastine, you idiot, we've been married for 58 years. And he'd say, but 42 have been wonderful.
Awesome.
He's also the one where I stole this from him. He would introduce my grandmother as his first wife. It was his only wife, but he would have
to try to use it.
He would introduce. Awesome. Have you met my first wife, Patsy? Yeah. I know, dude. He was the best. He was very. If anyone's even stuck around because I've small talked y'all to death, he was very much Norm Macdonald before Norm Macdonald, and just that kind of dry delivery and just the wittiest person I ever knew. Yeah, it was. Unfortunately, time comes for us all. So
yeah,
he couldn't stick. I think he'd be like 92 or 93 if he was still alive. But he passed.
Awesome memories though. Yeah, great lines. Too.
Absolutely. And now I steal it all and pretend like it's my intellectual property. property. Like, yeah, I came up with that. Everything I do is stolen from my grandfather. That's pretty much the truth. But anyways, okay, I went over Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale. I went over Brew Day Live. The actual last relevant piece of small talk is HomebrewCon coming up. Let's before we get into the questions, let's segue this into you were 2025 Homebrewer of the Year. If anyone missed the first 2 episodes we've done with you over the last year, you and actually all your episodes have been in 2026, haven't they? I believe you did January.
No, we did one in 2025.
We did when you won the award. That's right. Like shortly after. You now the last remind me how many gold medals or medals in general you won in 2025 and how many beers you have in the finals for 2026.
So I entered 4 total last year and 3 made it to finals, which is in itself quite an accomplishment. And then all 3 won gold, and then the American Lager won best of show. And then that put me over the top. I did get beat out from Nick Kazi by Tyler Miller, who beat me by 2 points, but hats off to him, you know. And then this year I entered 6. I really kind of screwed up, and it happened. But I've got a light American lager that made it through. That won a gold in Indianapolis. My German Pilsner, which is my favorite, that won a gold in Indianapolis. And then I ended up getting a 3rd with the cold IPA. And the cold IPA, I knew I had trouble because the mosaic this year was dank. So I used too much of that. So I redid the hop schedule. And so I think I'm in better shape for the finals. But the German Pils this year is up against Annie Johnson.
Oh, she has one in the finals.
She won a gold in Seattle. And I looked at that and thought, oh, man, she's tough. She is, sweetheart. I believe I met her back in 2012. I'm almost certain I did.
Well,
she is a sweetheart.
Were you? When was
tough?
When was HomebrewCon Minneapolis? Was that like 2017, 2016?
2016.
And
I was there for that one.
I thought she was there with Pico Brew. So you may have met her. You may have also seen her there. I mean, you probably met her before that, but I think she was still representing Pico Brew then, or they may have folded by then. I don't remember.
I met her in 2000. If I did meet her, and I'm almost certain I did, it would have been 2012, the year before she won Homebrewer of the Year. And she was in Minneapolis visiting a friend who I just ran into her at a brewery and started just chit chatting. And, and then later on, it says, I know who that is. I met her.
Annie's been, cool. My favorite Annie story. She's only been incredibly kind to me, but she never remembers my name. But she always remembered Todd. So we've seen her no less than a dozen times in real life, not even just being Facebook friends or whatever. And she'd be like, Todd Burns, how's it going? Hi, I'm Annie. To me, and I'd be like, what the Annie? This is the 5th time we've seen each other. I know who. Yeah, She's like, oh.
I can relate to that because I am so bad with names. I'll recognize the face, and then it's almost like a hard drive spins up, but it's spinning too slow, and I can't come up with a name fast enough.
I just turn it in. I'm like, oh, okay, Annie. I just have generic white guy face. You can't remember me. Duh. But yeah, joking aside, phenomenal brewer. I have no idea what she's up to these days, honestly. If
she had a couple ciders too. So Monday, a friend of mine, Heath, came over, and Heath bested her in Seattle with his cider, and she got bronze and silver to him. And I said, "You realize what you just did?"
Yeah.
And he had no idea who Annie Johnson was. I said, "Dude, that's an accomplishment." So he's up against her, and I'm up against her. And she's probably gonna smash.
No, oh, stop it! Here's the thing too. You're not going to HomebrewCon this year. Unfortunately, I learned that. But I have an offer for you because me and my pop, I got tickets for us both. And by got tickets, I mean the AHA graciously recognizes me as a media personality, which is suckers, but they do. And we're going to be covering AHA. My dad's my cameraman. He's never probably operated a camera in his life, but he's my cameraman. We're gonna have a good time that week, and then the festival and all that stuff. But I told you we're going to be around for the NHC for the finals, the award ceremony. You're not going to be there. I'm willing, for free, you don't got to pay me nothing, to run up there and take your medals when you get gold. When they announce your name, run, woo, yeah, woo, run up there and give a speech and everything. I'm willing.
It's tough. I'm really excited about it, but nervous because it's tough. But we did make an agreement that if you did do that, you had to hold them in the air and yell Nike.
You did say that. You're like,
Nike!
Nike! Dude, come on. If you, yeah, I don't even know do they ask you if you're going to be there? How does that work? I don't know if I mean, because they told you you're in the
I
finals.
don't know.
They
I don't know. I have never been there when I've won. I've been there when I lost, but I've never been there when I won.
Oh, last year you didn't. Oh, wait, they didn't have it last year. Or they
No,
did that.
they were down in Kansas City.
Okay.
And a friend of mine said, let's go down there. And I says, no expectations of winning at all. And I says, look, I don't want to go all the way down there just to be dejected and just deflated. Cause that's usually what happens when when you get done and they're done announcing and you didn't hear your name. That's a horrible feeling. But
dude, I'm so callous to it. So it's my usual. What are you talking about? Have I told you how many job applications I've put in? I mean, I'm freelancing, I'm fine, but I put in applications to move through it, and I've just learned I'm going to put this in and never hear from them again or hear rejection and say, yeah, buddy, that's the MO right now. It's fine. It's
you
all
know
fine.
what to say. You only fail when you stop trying.
That's right. Or is that what they say?
Going.
Okay. Yeah. And I remember I always joke about making fake trophies and medals instead of actually entering competitions. I'm going to start making fake job applications or job offers so my mom gets off my back. Just no, Mom, I rejected that. Yeah, no, you wouldn't believe. Dell wanted me to be like the executive, but I told him, no, I'm not selling out. I'm a man of the people. I don't know. I gotta do something. She's always like, hey, how's the job hunt going? Mom, leave me alone. I'm a grown man. And I'm right now in the middle of leveling up. I'm doing
it'll work out just fine.
Oh yeah, no. And I might have to edit some of that out. It's not very many people. To be fair, not very many people listen to the show. But as few people like, Josh, don't be Debbie Downer. Like, I'm not. I think I'm handling it pretty well. But yeah. Homebrew Happy Hour is why I'm able to handle it well. And if you want to help me, not financially, I just mean join the community, be a part of what we're doing. This is my absolute favorite thing to do, even when I did have full-time employment. Join at any tier, free up to recipe receiving, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. My friend Wayne, I think I've small talked you to death. I am going to hold you up to letting me get the medal. I will shout out Nike. We'll come up on some terms. It'll be great. But you were so gracious to accept I asked you, hey, if I could get you on the show and a topic, we don't have to deep dive necessarily like we did with pH or whatever, but I know people would love your input on pressure. You're like, that's actually a great idea. But how about this? Why don't I help you answer questions that you've had and we can fork off from there if we need to, you know what I mean? So you're a proper guest host. You're not just my guest. You are the guest host this week. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get us into the questions, which means I do have.
Well, maybe before we do that, tell my story why I started.
Oh, dude, perfect. I almost hit the gong of questions, but now I'm not gonna. I'm gonna let you talk.
Okay,
first.
I'll do as fast as I can.
No, you don't got, dude. I've got time. I don't know if you know this.
I struggled for a lot of years. Lagers. I love lagers. One of the biggest problems we have with German beers is that the judges do not want any fruitiness in there. And I would, my main go-to yeasts were 2124, which is why yeast is Weiss. I'm going to say this wrong.
I always say it wrong.
Weiss, yeah. Stefan yeast. And I also used 830. And I was at a brewery here local, the Lupulin Brewery here in town, and I tasted their beer. They had a Helles, and it was just super clean. And I just so happened to ask the barkeep, do you know what kind of yeast they use? He goes, well, you know what? I helped them with this beer. And he was really proud of it. And he says, it's 2124. And it was so clean. And I said, how did you get it so clean? He just kind of shrugged his shoulders. I don't know. And then I turned around and looked and saw the 20-foot high fermenters. And then it just dawned on me, I wonder if pressure has something to do with it. So right after that, I went home, brewed up a Pilsner, went down to Midwest when they were still open, said, do you have 830? And they said, we're all out, 830. I have 2124. I said, I'll take that. And took it home, fermented it, and looked at the fermenters. They were 20 feet high. And I thought it was just hydrostatic pressure, which we'll get into here a little bit, difference between head pressure and hydrostatic. So I said, I'll just recreate hydrostatic pressure with head pressure. And so I calculated the pressure at the bottom of the cone and said it's 7.5 PSI. I'll just run with that. And I brewed the beer. entered it into a competition. It was when Mash Out was still going, and it got a second place, and I was upset because it was the best Pilsner I've ever done. It was just whistle clean, just beautiful. So it went into midwinter, and this is the first pressure fermented lager I did, and it went a gold and went second best to show. And I says, now I'm on to stuff. And that was 2020, and then COVID hit. All competitions got shut down because that's kind of what I do.
Yep.
And so I just started experimenting with pressure fermentation and studying it, and that's where we are today. So I am an outlier because I still ferment at 52 degrees, 55 degrees under pressure. And we can get into when the questions kind of cover a lot of why you would do that.
I was just saying, yeah, we're absolutely have to touch on that because I have gotten so much like anything in home brewing, or honestly anything since the invention of the internet. Everyone has their opinion, and I could not tell you how many times because my pop and I pressure ferment in my office, and if the outside temp, I have a mini split in here. This office is 150 square foot. And I have an overkill mini split that is set for like 1,500 square feet. And I did that so it'd be easy for me to get this down. The lowest the mini split will take it down to is 50 or is 60. And obviously it'll heat up to wherever I want it. But we usually have this office at like 64, which is in range for a lot of the ales I'm doing. And so people are like, why are you still going to do it under pressure if you can hit the range or whatever? I'm like, it's just been producing the best beer for us. So I'd love for someone to explain it scientifically as opposed to just my anecdotal caveman, because it worked for me, you know?
Yeah. So there's two pressures that you have to deal with in fermentation. And if you're a professional and you have these really tall conicals, supposedly Viestafan, mispronouncing that, has fermenters that are 50 meters high. So incredibly tall.
Yeah.
The pressure on the bottom is just intense. So yeast, there's two different types of pressure that you have on yeast. One of them is the hydrostatic pressure. That's the depth of the fermenter. And on a conical, when you're 20 feet, 30 feet deep, you get natural convection, right? And the beer churns as the CO2 is being released out of solution by the yeast. The yeast are expelling CO2. It doesn't go into solution right away, so it comes out. And that causes that convection. So the yeast are going through the cycle of coming up to the very top of the fermenter, and then they're making their way back down. And so they're constantly seeing this change in pressure. The yeast doesn't care about that. It doesn't bother the yeast. Yeast biologists have said that hydrostatic pressure is not a big deal to yeast. What is a big deal to yeast is as it's churning, the beer is coming up to the top. It doesn't have enough time to get rid of all the CO2, and it goes right back down. And that hydrostatic pressure will keep some of the CO2 into solution. So that's why these really tall conicals can ferment really clean lagers. And in fact, it's an opposite problem for Belgians because when they start using these, their beers are too clean. And it's that CO2 that's in solution. So what can a home brewer do is they put head pressure on. Now, head pressure is different. It will create that hydrostatic pressure, obviously, but what it does is it traps the CO2 in solution. The yeast respond to that CO2, and they slow their growth. They reduce ester fermentation, and they will they'll just slow down metabolically. So you hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, you can get really fast lagers with pressure fermentation, but not if you drop them down to 52 degrees. They will actually take a little longer to finish out. But if you bring it up to 62 degrees, you've got that temperature working for you. Now, consequently, as you drop temperature, you drop pressure because you really want to regulate how much CO2 is in solution. You don't want too much in there, and you don't want too little. I tried 5 pounds at 52, and I started picking up fruit. So I went back to 7.5 pounds. But if you're going to do it at 62 degrees, you might bring it up to 10 or 15 psi to keep those esters down. But at that temperature, the yeast is really ramped up. So I've often thought that when you ferment lagers at cooler temperatures, you're actually trapping more CO2. So it isn't just the drop in temperature that's affecting the yeast, it's also the saturation of CO2 in solution. And it's not saturated, but I mean, the amount of CO2 in solution is actually elevated at lower temperatures. So then the yeast react to that. So that's my 5 minute or however long.
No, I love it.
Well,
and also for clarification for listeners, every batch that you've won an award with at NHC and the batches you sent this year were all under pressure or pressure fermented?
No.
Explain
when you. I will not do an IPA under pressure, and we'll get into that later. But there's a reason for that. It has to do with dry hopping.
Dude, oh my goodness, it's almost meant to be a segue. This episode is brought to you by brewersfriend.com. Brewing beer at home isn't just about ingredients, it is about precision, and that's where brewersfriend.com comes in. Whether you're dialing in your first recipe or perfecting your 100th, Brewer's Friend gives you the tools to brew with confidence. Their recipe builder, mash calculators, and water profile database helps take the guesswork out of the process so you can focus on what matters, making great beer. Brewer's Friend isn't just software, it's a community of passionate homebrewers sharing recipes, tips, and feedback. It's like having a homebrew club right in your pocket. Head over to brewersfriend.com today and take your homebrewing to the next level. Use promo code Happy Hour and get 25% off your premium membership. That's brewersfriend.com, because brewing better starts with better tools. You have never been a guest host, so you've never been witness to the pleasure that is the gong of questions, which it almost always gets processed out when I run it through the things, and then I have to re-add it in post. I hate the gong, but I also have to have it. It's a running shtick. Anyways, to our questions, my friend. Our first one is an email from my buddy Roy. Roy wrote in. He said, "Cheers to the Homebrew Happy Hour crew. I've got a new Firmzilla and Spunding valve dialed in, and I'm loving the results so far, but I'm hitting a wall with my IPAs. How on earth can you effectively dry hop under pressure without causing a massive hop geyser when you open the port? Is there a trick to doing this safely, or do I need to depressurize the whole vessel first, risking oxygen exposure?" I'm going to let you get into the actual part of it, but let me say my little shtick first. That's why I don't do IPAs. No, I actually, when I hear, you can critique me, the double IPA, the Pliny, I thought, because people ask me about that. I know that they make contraptions like hop bonds or whatever from Kedland through More Beer. You can buy them, and that's like if you have a Firmzilla, that's the easiest thing to point to. Get a hop bond and do it that way. Which I feel like they weren't always called hop bonds, but now that's like the marketing term. I thought they're like hop spider. No, hop spider's in the kettle. Now, anyway, I'm digressing in real time. But
there's a couple of ways. There's a reason why they're doing that, and that's you have CO2 in solution, and you ferment it under pressure. As soon as you open up that fermenter, right, and you drop pressure, the CO2 wants to come out of solution. There's nothing to keep it in there. Then when you add those hops, the hops actually start to dissolve. The pelletized hops start to break down, and you get nucleation points, and that nucleation points is no different than a Mentos and a Diet Coke. I mean, I've done it, so I know where he's at. And I had one just come out of there, and I yelled for my wife. I said, "Get down here!" And she got down, and she goes, "What do you want me to do?" And I said, "I don't know."
I don't know.
I was just holding that cover on that fermenter. It was amazing how much power it had, and eventually, it died down enough so I could add it back in there. But I had beer all over. So the solution to that was that I ferment rather cool on IPAs. I'm not really worried about esters on IPAs.
Yeah.
And I ferment rather cool. And then it's almost still. I do inject CO2 as I open up the top of the fermenter, and then I'll add the hops while it's venting CO2 out at the same time. And then I'll do something a little different. Is if you have Citra or a Mosaic or something like that, you can actually close everything up and then spund it, and the hop creep will actually start to carbonate the beer naturally. It's kind of a cool thing you can do. So there's we're getting into a couple of things, but first let's answer the question. How do you do it? You either have to add the hops at the same pressure. So in other words, one of those devices with the valve on there,
Yeah.
and you purge that. You first add your hops, and then you purge all the oxygen out of there, and then you open that valve and dump. And then that way it's under pressure. The hops get in there. They'll nucleate a little bit, but you can always hit that fermenter with extra pressure to keep that down.
I'm
It's
looking at
really
it right
difficult
now. Wow.
difficult to do that. It's difficult to do that. It's difficult to get that right. And anytime you dry hop, you risk oxygen ingress.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you also risk when you spun or put it under pressure is you risk having VDKs being produced by the yeast, and then you end up with butter, diacetyl. So a little trick, I use ALDC, add it at fermentation, but I also add it at dry hop. And the other thing I do is we're off the question a little bit, but I add 1 tablet of potassium metabisulfite broken up in with the dry hops. So that helps mitigate some of the oxygen. But what I do, and I think it's probably a little better, is I switched yeast. I love 3470. I use it for all my IPAs, all my pale ales. And people say, why are you using a lager yeast for that? It's one of the best yeast at 62 degrees. It's so clean, you'd never know that it was anything but lager. And at 62 degrees, 3470 is really forgiving. I let it go at ambient pressure. And then when I'm ready to dry hop, I'll, do my little routine where I'm venting constantly, adding it, all my stuff, and then I'll close it up and then I'll spund it. And then it'll go, you watch that hop creep, it's crazy. It'll go up to 30 PSI at 62 degrees.
Whoa.
And then I know it's fully carbonated.
Yeah.
So,
no kidding, right?
yeah, and it takes 3 days, probably 2 days. It's hitting 30. I let it go for another day, so 3 days, and then it crashed. But boy, that is always a problem. Pressure fermenting, and I'll make this pressure fermenting anything you're going to dry up. But I'll add this to the mix, is that I don't see any reason to pressure ferment ales or any other type of beer that's got a lot of hops in it. The pressure fermentation, I keep that strictly for lagers.
Dude, I know, and I don't remember if I would give you a softball opportunity to nail it out and hammer on me, because I get flack from a lot of people that when the Kolsch, I'd pressure ferment it, and even at temps, and people are like, you're losing all the esters and it needs some ester. And I'm telling you though,
no, you can adjust the pressure, and in that way you adjust your ester, and you keep playing with it until you hit that pressure, that pitch rate, and the pressure that gives you the esters you're looking for. And if you're honestly, a Kolsch, a really good Kolsch, has very few esters.
That's what that's what I tell people. It
says a touch of pear in it.
Yeah, I tell people exactly pear, that champagne-ish kind of. Oh yeah, yep. I tell people, listen. You're using words that aren't in my vocabulary. I'm not like some pacifist hippy dippy, but like it's so we're yielding what we want. Or my pop has very little say in it. But, we're yielding what I want. If like you said, if I wanted more or less of something, like you said, I can easily manipulate that during that process. I could manipulate temperature. I can manipulate pressure. There are different ways of achieving it. As long as everything's documented, I can replicate it in the future. So it's like when people are like, you should never pressure ferment a Kolsch. I'm like, okay, come over here and stop me. What are you gonna do?
In that case, I would, the Kolsch has a tendency to get really, really fruity. You do want to cut that down. And one of the ways of doing it is just getting it really cold. But I found that 25-65 gets really fruity when it gets cold. I don't know why, but pressure fermentation is just a tool in your toolbox that you can use. And there's an old saying, when you got a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. So don't use it for everything. Use it for very specifically for what you want to accomplish.
Yeah. So
and it's to your liking. I'm a competitive brewer, so I have to please judges. And when you can actually please a judge, it actually is really good beer. But there's times when I make a beer that will never ever metal anywhere. And it's it's an enjoyable beer, and I like it. And that's what you need to do.
Absolutely. And to add to Roy's thing, like I'd already mentioned, I will say, if you're dead set on it, at morebeer.com, and I'm sure others people sell it too. That was just the first Google result. The Hop Bond pressure pack for your Firmzilla. They have hop bonds at every level of for the 7.5 gallon, the 13, the 15, then the barrel. So if you're interested in that, I will say this though. It is more expensive than the actual Firmzilla itself. But if you're dead set on dry hopping under pressure using your Firmzilla, there is a solution there. And what I love about this show is there will undoubtedly be people DMing me like, hey, actually, I ferment in a SS Brewtech conical, and here's how I do it or whatever.
Right.
So
everybody has a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
The biggest problem you have with dry hop, other than the hot volcano, is the oxygen, and everybody struggles with that. Even Sierra Nevada struggles with it, and they have methods to eliminate it. And as homebrewers, we have a few more tools than the professionals, and one of them is potassium metabisulfite.
Yeah.
Just a small amount, not a lot. You don't want to raise the sulfate levels to the point where it's reportable, or 10 parts per million. That's the limit, because some people are affected by it. But if you keep it down 2 parts per million, that's enough to help keep the oxygen down. And then if you are going to use one of those hop injectors, whatever they call them, make sure that you really do flush those hops with CO2 before you drop them in, because there's a lot of oxygen in there with them.
And is there, this might be a dumb question, but I don't do any editing, so I'm risking it again. Do you have to sanitize? Because I'm not imagining if you're dry hopping and this contraption, guys, they call it a hop bong, because I get it. It looks like a bong. Oh, it's a water pipe. I'm very hip. Whatever. You're probably putting the hop pellets directly in there. You're not putting them in a muslin bag and then in there. Do you need to sanitize
I'm a
those
naked,
hops?
they call it naked dry hopping. It's just let them run free.
And do you sanitize in any way beforehand, or do you not even need to? Okay, I didn't know.
No, that hop bond could be. I like. I don't know if we should get it around the country, but I use Everclear. Yeah, I put it in a spray bottle, and in Minnesota they don't allow the 190 proof, which is perfect, because 150 proof is actually better for sanitizing. And sometimes I'll just spray it, but with dry hops, I don't do anything. I just throw them in there. You have the natural antibacterial or antimicrobial of the alcohol. The alcohol itself will take care of a lot of it. Most bacteria doesn't do very well above 2%.
Right.
There are some that do, but the ones you're worried about probably won't do anything. So I just let them go.
The fun thing about using the Everclear with your gear is like a little bit for you, a little bit for me, a little bit for me, a little bit for me.
It's actually, I believe it. Now, don't quote me on this, but it's more effective than Star Sand. It's a lot more expensive, but you just spray it, right? So I see a lot of people spray Star Sand. Well, I just throw a little bit of Everclear, and then anything doubt, I just hit it.
Not knocking Star Sand, 5-star, good people.
I use that too.
But I'm just saying though, I bet you a sprayer of Everclear is more shelf stable than Star Sand could ever imagine being. You know what I mean?
It lasts forever.
It lasts forever.
And like I say, I still use Star Sand to sanitize the kegs and everything else.
Yeah, of course.
But when you're going to open something up and you just want to, be double sure.
Yeah. My actual only experience with Everclear, I was 14 or 15, and my buddy Joe Williams, I don't know what you're up to, but I remember this. His parents were divorced, and he lived with his mom, and she was gone working all the time, so we got into trouble at his house in the summer. And one day he got out this thing, what I later found out was Everclear, and it got... Dude, it might as well have been rubbing alcohol. It was terrible.
It's horrible.
It was awful. And he was just like, "Oh, let's do another shot." I was like, "No, I'm gonna ride my bike home. I'm about to cry."
You are on the bike.
I did not have that degenerate life in me at the time. I was like, "Oh, I'm cool. Let's smoke cigarettes and and then one shot of Everclear, and I was like, "No, I don't want to be a grown up. I'm going home." Ding, ding. Yeah, it was the worst.
Probably a good lesson.
Oh yeah, it was. And my first cigarette experience experience. I found my mom's menthols, and I tried smoking one, and I was like, "This is she's an idiot. What is she doing?" And never
I
did.
did the same thing. My dad smoked Salem's, and I lived on a farm. I literally went behind the barn and lit it up. I couldn't make my way through it. I don't understand why people like
Yeah,
this.
why are
This is
people doing
horrible.
this? This is so stupid. God, adults are idiots. Go back to my video games or whatever I was doing. But anyways, Roy, thank you so much for submitting that question. A reminder, guys, if you want your question read, you could email it like Roy did to Joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com. But even better, call it into 325-305-6107. I'll play it on a future episode. You'll feel good about yourself. Yada, yada, yada. Win, win. But the next question, actually, before I get to the next question, it's time for the gong of questions. And that brings us to another email. My buddy Dave from Dallas wrote in, "What's up, gentlemen? I have a question about yeast health and pressure profiles. I know pressure suppresses ester production, which is why we can ferment clean lagers at ale temps, but at what PSI do we start actually stressing out the yeast, stunting cell growth, or hurting final attenuation? Is there a general sweet spot PSI that you recommend for a standard 3470 lager versus a Kvite strain?" Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much into the woods you want to go with this question, Wayne, but I do know the rule of thumb I've been applying, and because I dumb things down for my understanding because I'm dumbed down as a person, and so I'm like, if it's warm, the rule of thumb that we've been following, if our pitching temp is like 10 or like 5 to 10 degrees above the highest end, like, so for this, this is a bad example because this velo goes all the way up to 94 Fahrenheit, but let's say it only went up to 64 and we pitch at 70. I'm going to immediately, when I pitch, inject 10 PSI because that's been having the results for us. There's no science behind it, and I'm willing to be wrong on this, but I don't know if 10 PSI is hurting attenuation. I don't know if I should be doing 15 at certain temps. I don't know if I should be doing 5. I don't know if I should just be letting it get up to something and having my spunding valve handle all that. What do you have for Dave in regards to not stressing out the yeast and producing something like some general rule of thumb that you can give him on PSI?
Right. So it's temperature dependent. So there's two different, like we stated before, there's two different types of pressure. There's the hydrostatic pressure. That's actually the pressure that the cell is feeling from the liquid itself. And then the head pressure is what he's talking about. And that actually causes CO2 to go into solution. So as the temperature goes up, you need to raise that pH. Need to raise that pressure up to keep that CO2 in solution. So as we get up to, and he uses 3470, which is my favorite yeast. It does really well under pressure. I think that goes really under pressure up to 15 PSI. No problem at all. I spun, and when I spun with 3470, it's at 30 PSI, and it's still going. And so it's a really remarkably robust yeast. I can't speak to Kvite. I don't know that I put Kvite under pressure. I would just stick with 3470. But if you do Kvite, I'm sure it's similar to it. So under hydrostatic pressure, it can go easily up to 60 PSI.
Oh, wow.
No problem. But when you put that head pressure on there, what you're worried about is now you have this head pressure, which is probably pretty low for homebrewers, or hydrostatic pressure is low for homebrewers, but that head pressure just causes that CO2 in solution. So that's what you're really worried about. So that CO2 is really what hurts the yeast. It doesn't want to multiply. And I've heard anecdotally, however, that 45 PSI is where you start killing yeast. But there's no temperature reference. So for the most part, you can, if you're doing it at, like, you have a method that you have for keeping CO2 in there.
Yeah.
And yours is 10 PSI above? I'd go 15.
Okay.
15 PSI. Yeah. I normally rarely ever go above 58 with 3470, and it just performs so well at that. But I have temperature control. If you're doing it at room temperature, you do risk getting high and temperatures with 3470 and picking up some phenolics. And the phenolics are independent, I believe, in my opinion, of pressure. That's something that the yeast produces when it's warm. So if you can, when I pitch at 0 psi and let it build up. You can, if you do add the pressure at pitching, you're really not doing a lot. You're getting a little more CO2 in solution, but it really isn't doing much for the yeast. So if you can, if you could keep that temperatures at 68 or below at 15 psi, and then at the end just spun it. I love spunning, and I don't have a tilt or anything. I don't monitor the gravity as it's fermenting. I just watch that airlock, and a lot of people say, "Oh, the airlock's not accurate." I've done it so many times. I know when it's slowing down. So then you can just bump that pressure relief valve, that variable pressure relief valve. If you have like a Trongs is a good one.
Yeah,
that's actually the best. And then you also have blow tie. If you have one of those, the blow ties are a little unstable, but they're good. And you just raise that up until you hit your 30 psi, and then I just let it go. And then I watch that, and it's really scientific because on the loggers, if I'm only getting a burp every 4 to 6 seconds, it's done. And then
dude,
I don't even check gravity. I crash.
The whole time you're talking,
that's why there's a lot of seat of the pants stuff, and
Yeah.
it has to do. It's no different than cooking. If you ever run across, we just got done watching Bobby. Is it Bobby Flay?
Bobby Flay.
And yeah, he was making barbecue sauce, and he wasn't measuring anything. He was just, and he's a world-renowned chef, right?
Yeah.
And if you taste his barbecue sauce, that's great. What's the recipe? Oh, let me show you. And
yeah, let me.
So there's a lot of just intuition that goes into this.
Yeah. As you were talking, I was thinking, we gotta find a time of the year, this year, next year, whatever, come film with you on a brew day, because it's so fascinating. Like what I love is that it is just like, this is how I am with a lot of things that I was self-taught on. Like, I'm a self-taught musician, guitar, but for drums, that's the one where I get asked the most from some people, like at our church or whatever. Hey, can you teach my kid drums? I'm like, they to watch me, but I can't. How do they do that? I don't know. I just I just do it. Like I just do it. Like that's
just funny because I use an analogy. My wife says, "Why do you give away your recipes?" I says, "It's like Eddie Van Halen giving away the music notes for Eruption."
Yeah,
and good luck playing it, you know. And the other one, the analogy I use is that Eddie Van Halen shows up and he shows you how to play Eruption, and he hands you his Stratocaster, and he says, "Let's see you do it." And it's it's just. Have you ever seen The Simpsons where Bart gets a guitar?
No, I don't remember.
And he gets on the bus, and Automan's sitting there in the bus, and Bart says, "Automan, I think my guitar's broke." And Automan grabs it, just rips out this solo, just awesome. And he hands the guitar back. Says, "No, I don't think it's broke."
Yeah. Dude, I have a similar story. My very first electric guitar. So my pop bought me an acoustic when I was in the 6th grade and wouldn't pay for lessons and said, just learn. This was before the internet, really. And so I couldn't get on YouTube. I had to buy Guitar World magazines and get the tabs out of the back.
I would used to subscribe to that.
Yeah, me too. I didn't subscribe because, again, my dad was cheap. I would go to Guitar Center and get a Guitar World magazine with my, I think he gave me $15 a week for lunch or $20 or whatever. So I go spend, I think Guitar World magazines were like $3 an issue back then, and go get
expensive.
it. And it was. I know this is 1997 or whatever it was, 1997 or 8, and whatever tabs were in the back. Oh, this year I'm learning this Journey song or whatever. but like I said, where I'm going with that though is like my first guitar was a PV Raptor, which was a knockoff of a Fender Strat, and my dad's one of his work buddies, John Cook, who is still one of my favorite guitarists that I personally know, and I would be like, "Oh, my guitar's not good, doesn't sound good, I'll never be good," and he grabs it and he just shreds the solo to Hotel California, and then hands it back to me, and it was just like that scene you described, where I was like,
"That's awesome.
Wait a second, how can my guitar sound that good? I don't sound that good." Yeah.
And where did that come from? That come from repetition. And I always say, you're going to learn brewing and all, whether you're playing with pressure or whatever you're playing with, it's those mistakes you make It's a fact that you recognize that it's a flaw, it's a mistake, and you search out an answer for it. And it takes time. And it isn't like you can just, like you say, pick up that Strat and smoke out Hotel California solo. It's not something you can do easily. It takes practice, and it takes being able to play the guitar. You've ever heard of somebody who breaks the strings and they play around them? I mean, that's just sheer knowledge and intuition. Yeah, just a good musician.
Yeah.
And it takes time to get like that. So if your beers aren't turning out perfect the way you want, just perseverance is really what pays off.
Do you still play? Do you still play at all?
I actually have a Les Paul Deluxe, a 1980 Les Paul Deluxe with a Super Champ amp, and I cannot play it to save my life. I have the coolest guitar ever, and I can't play it.
That's hilarious. I was just like, I was about to start the Homebrew Happy Hour jam band, and then you just crushed that dream.
Well, and we're way off subject, but that Super Champ, I didn't realize how valuable it was because it was the last one that Fender made in California, and it's all tube. And I just bought it, and I was just a high school kid. And I was going to play guitar, so why not just buy the best guitar you could? And it is a fabulous guitar. It's easy to play, but I just can't play it.
My pop, one of my favorite things he ever bought me, and he shouldn't have, and I won't go into the details of why, but I was just a bad kid at the time. But for my 16th birthday, he bought me a 2000. I still have it on my wall. I'll superimpose it. I don't want everyone to see my dirty office. But a Gibson Firebird, an '01 Firebird, and I have no idea what the value is at the time. I think it was a $1,200 guitar. It might be double that now. I don't know.
Oh, but it's amazing how they go up.
It is, but that is my favorite. Like the warmth from it on the pickups. Oh, it's so great. And during COVID, my favorite online retailer, Sweetwater, my favorite retailer here in Austin, Straight Music, shout out to them, support mom and pop, but they didn't do the deals that Sweetwater did during COVID. I was just dropping money because they were, I have a Stratocaster, the Road Deluxe, from Fender that was usually, let's say it was $1,200 usually. And during COVID, like during when lockdowns happened, I think I got it for $825. And I was like, I see all these deals, like 40% off these. I was like, yes, buy it. Yeah. My wife would be like, what are you doing? I was like, baby, I'm investing in my future. The band's going to make it. And now that I'm unemployed, maybe the band should make it. I'm going to tell her I got a job today. My Minnesota buddy Wayne and I are starting a band, honey. You see here. No. Oh, what? What? You were on board. No, we're not. No. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, though, and the reason we bring all that up with brewing, it like that's what I was saying. If I could get up there and film content with you, because it's so fascinating how it is just, you have built routine through trial and error. It isn't that you are shooting from the hip as much as this ain't your first rodeo, and anyone can get to that level of comfort with their system, and it may look different than yours, but if you're achieving the beer you want, that's all that matters. It's not, I'm going to film you, Wayne, doing your brew day so that I can do it one for one. No, it's just to see someone, like you said, the Bobby Flay thing, where, I know what I'm doing. I know because I've dialed in on my system, I've dialed in on my processes, and I've gotten the results. And you literally can quantify the results because you win medals. I quantify my results by just feedback. Well, like my family's like, this isn't terrible, but
right. And I did it through competition, and a lot of people say, well, you're kind of they always. People who are competitive are always dicks. It's not that. You're competing against your thing. Some of them are. But you're competing against yourself more than anything. Yes. You really want to nail that style. And I've never worked so hard to impress people I've never met. That's that's beer judging.
Again, I cannot relate. I think maybe it's a good thing.
What it did is it caused me to have a discipline that doesn't on the surface doesn't look like discipline, but it really is.
Yeah.
And like I say, we brewed on Monday. Today's Wednesday. We brewed on Monday with Heath, and he was a little surprised that it was just like, this is what you do. It's kind of winging it, because the sparge was kind of like, I'll put this much in there and we'll do this. And it's fermenting right now. And it's just, I'm an airlock sniffer. So I sniffed the airlock, and it's venting already under pressure, and it just smells wonderful. So I'm really excited about this beer. So.
He thought you were gonna be like some lab coat scientist. Like
I brewed with him, and he's got this beautiful brew room, and he comes over, and I have this dingy garage I do it in. And if you filmed up here, you'd say, "What a dump!" It's just this dingy garage. But really, it comes down to dialing in your system and understanding it, and you could really. I mean, it's amazing that you can serve this beer to people, to friends, and they said, "This, you made this?" I said, "Yeah," and the German Pilsner, we put it up against Heath is international pilot, and he brought some Pilsner in from Germany, and we sat it down with the Pilsners from Germany, and they stood up to him, and I was like shocked. It was humbling in a way, and I was proud in a way, and it was like I've never really had this fresh of an example of a Pilsner because I've never been to Europe. So, but I'm going to go there someday.
Well, when your Pils wins gold, I'm gonna be on the stage.
I sure hope so. I'm
gonna be up there shouting.
It was a long shot, but I'm really proud of this one. This was. I have to be careful because I'll drink it before I get it bottled.
I cannot wait to hear your name. And again, not just because I'm gonna try to run up on the stage, but I don't even know if they're live streaming it. I don't know if they've even had any details come out.
They are. They usually do every year.
Yeah. Well, the Brew Network has been doing it, correct? Like through their YouTube channel, maybe, or through their website.
I thought it was the HA last year.
I don't see
that's on YouTube.
Yeah. It was YouTube.
It's live on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get the logistics side on that. And again, guys, if y'all want to go to HomebrewCon, hombrewcon.com, there's no promo code from me, but you still can register. My pop and I will be there. A lot of online brewers are going to be there, but more importantly, a lot of just home brewing down to earth people are going to be there too. So come hang out with us in Asheville. If you're going to be there, please let me know. Shoot me a message if you're watching at YouTube. What a great way to help out the algorithm by commenting below. Even if you have feedback on any of the questions we've taken thus far, or if you're going to be at HomebrewCon, I'd love to meet up with you, or call it into 325-305-6107. I've taken up so much of your time. Do you have time for one more question, Wayne?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Beautiful. I appreciate
I got the day off.
Me too. Hey, whoa, just a couple of guys with PTO, man. Going into the last question, though, before I get to it, today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. The gong of questions. Our last question for this episode is an email. Our buddy Lance from Florida said, "Hey guys, love the show. I'm trying to perfect my fully closed spunded to serve brewing process. If I'm capping my fermenter near the tail end to naturally carbonate the beer, how could you precisely calculate residual gravity to hitting exactly 2.5 volumes of CO2? Also, when doing a closed transfer to a fully purged keg, do you find the need to push with a significantly higher PSI to avoid knocking that hard-earned natural carbonation out of solution?" I literally have nothing to offer this question, dude, because I know we have a CO2 chart on our website in regards to when you're forced carbing at what temp and at what PSI and what volume that's going to yield, but I don't know how to measure that. I don't know how to measure that if you're not injecting. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know because I don't care to know. So, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is another one where I don't check gravity. I just watch it, and this may be kind of a downer or not a very good answer to the question, but I rely on that pressure relief valve. And so I know these beers, I know when they finish, and I'm usually on lagers, I'm 8th, 9th day. I know it's running out of steam, and I'll raise the temperature slightly, and that will also raise the pressure in there because the CO2 is coming out of solution. And then I'll just turn that spunding valve up, and at between at 58 degrees, I like to get, probably pushing 2.7 volumes, but I'll set it at your pressure, right? So you can look at one of those charts, whatever your temperature your beer is, look at the chart and it'll tell you what pressure you should be. Set your PRV to that and let the yeast finish out. When in doubt, let it go. Just let it go a little longer. There is a risk, and it's a small risk, that if you leave the yeast under pressure at warmer temperatures too long, you get some yeast breaking down, autolysis. But it, I've never had that. So when should you start spunning? If you have something to measure your, what's the tilt? If you have a tilt in there, the tilt is sometimes accurate, sometimes not. It's almost as good as the seat of your pants. And you just play with it and then bring that up. And so I don't, here I am confessing, I don't really watch that close. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture as much CO2 as I can, because I save a lot of money by not having to artificially or force carbonate it. It just naturally carbonates. The other advantage of natural carbonation is that you end up with no oxygen ever injected in there. I mean, there's small amounts of water and oxygen in the CO2. And that's very small. I mean, it's not usually a risk. But when you spund, you get instant carbonation. When you crash that beer, it is ready to go. Now, a lot of people say that spunding maybe gives you better CO2 or better mouthfeel and whatnot. And I think that that's true at first. But once the CO2 has been sitting there for a week and everything is equalized between the beer and the headspace, that you'll get the same thing through forced carbonation. So if you find out when you get done spunding that you're too high a pressure, just drop the pressure in the keg a little bit and it'll naturally, lower the carbon dioxide. If you find out it's too low and you want it more, you just inject some CO2 in there and just give it some head pressure, as it's cold.
When you're, go ahead. Sorry.
I really don't watch that. I couldn't tell you what volume, how many volumes are in this. I don't know. I taste it. I go off tongue. That's how I go. It's either too much or too little.
And I wanted to ask, you are creating an environment in your fermenter that when you transfer to keg, you're not using external CO2 at all for that transfer process?
No. So, yeah, I am using external CO2. So to get to the other side of the question, how do you transfer into a keg? So you get your fermenter and you have your keg. So what I do is I clean the keg, obviously, and I put the Star Saner and sanitize it. But I do something a little different. Is I will actually fill the keg with water and, get ready to be shocked, 1 ounce of potassium metabisulfite dissolved into that 5 gallons, right? And then you fill it all the way up to the top, close up the fermenter or the keg, and you pressurize it, make sure there's no leaks, and then you draw it down just enough so that there's the gas tube on the bottom is above the liquid. And then I start venting, and I'll vent 50 times. I have this routine. My wife hears it happening in the laundry room. And I sit there and count 50 times. What that does is it completely removes that oxygen out of that headspace. So this is a bonus to this question. And then I'll force that the rest of that solution out, and I'll just dump it. I mean, it's a waste, but I'll dump it. But I'm trying to save that beer. And then at the end, you might have a half an ounce of water left on the bottom, but that half an ounce is completely oxygen free, and it actually has some oxygen, absorbing capacity. Very little, but and if you look at the overall contribution of the metabisulfite to the beer, it's very little. There's almost no contribution whatsoever. And then that usually gets pressurized at about 15 psi. And then the donor keg is probably at 17. And then I'll have a pressure relief valve off of the gas side of the receiving keg. And I'll set that to, it starts to into an airlock. And I usually use a beer bottle as an airlock. And I'll run it in and I'll watch those bubbles. And I'll start forcing the pressure up on the donor until I see either my pressure is just right and I'm starting to see bubbles coming out, or I'll back off on the receiving keg so I get bubbles coming out, or I'll put the pressure up. I just kind of go between the two, but there's usually only about 1.5 or 2 pounds of pressure difference, and the keg it fills very slowly.
Yeah.
And there is no loss of carbon dioxide whatsoever. And just as I fill, I just watch that keg. What you don't want to do is get some liquid into your pressure relief valve that, whether you're using the Trongs or if you're using the
blow tie.
You can use if it gets into either one of those, you can take them apart and clean them, but you just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you get done, I just usually just hit it with 20 psi. You can see I'm not really. It's a kind of a Bobby Flay thing.
No, I love
just put that much in there.
I love
and then
that.
and then I just let it set. But you can start drinking it immediately.
Yeah,
I usually leave it set because I have been hitting the donor keg prior. So I'm done with that beer.
Well, so, also though too, it's ready to go because your beer has been cold conditioned already, right? Like your beer.
It's cold crashed, so like a lager isn't lagered. I lager it in the fermenter, but it's fully carbonated, and I'll lager it for like a week until I get a pretty clear beer, and then I'll transfer it into the keg, and then it continues to lager in the keg under pressure, completely carbonated. So the carbonation comes from the spunding.
Yeah.
Just getting it the last little bit of sugar out of there, and I never add sugar to it if it peters out before you get to the pressure you want. It's like, okay, really what I'm concerned about is when I crash cool, that there's pressure, that the fermenter is under pressure when I'm crash cooling, because I don't want to draw in any oxygen in there. Just even the smallest amount of oxygen into that beer is going to destroy it.
Are you, one thing I've never asked you, and it's not really related, except we were talking about Tron Spundit. Are you using his Float It in your fermenter?
I did. In fact, I just got done kegging. I use it for the cold IPA because I brew that cold IPA right at the last minute, and they want that really clear. And if you're going to get it that clear that fast, you got to use that Float It, and it works really good. I got done with the cold IPA. I looked down at the bottom, and there's no beer left on the bottom. Maybe a half a swallow. That's it.
I told you, man. I told you.
It is. And it's really nice because you can actually add the floating tube, the silicon tube can actually be added, and it fits through the post. Whereas the other ones, you've got to reach your hand in there, and so.
Yeah, people think, first off, I love Tron to death. I make 0 cents on any sale of the Float It 2.0. I should probably work on that because people think I'm like some an infomercial TV evangelist for it. Like, oh, you got kickbacks. I wish, dude. Tron, he's like my pop. He's cheap.
I took it apart and cleaned it, obviously, because I used it before. And I was looking at it, and I said, I wonder how he does. It's really well manufactured.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you go about doing that. You have an idea. How do you manufacture it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's like really well made. So
yeah, he did all those parts.
And I don't get paid either.
Yeah. I know. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I sent you one. What was it? When did I send it? March? February?
End of
last year?
It was last December.
It was Christmas time. Okay, yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah. You're right. It was before I lost my job because I just grabbed it off the shelf and shipped it to you. But no, Homebrew Happy Hour paid for it. Homebrew Happy Hour, it's not hot. Homebrew Happy Hour paid for it. It'd be cooler if it was hot. If I just like, hey Todd, look over there, and then people wonder how I lost my job. But it's the best invention of all time, man. I love that.
A quick note too is that it does fit inside of a Sankey keg. So I ferment in Sankey kegs. It's my favorite, and it's one of the problems is getting some of these floating pickups to fit in there, and that one does fit in easily into the 2-inch opening.
I forgot you ferment in Sankey kegs. Now you serve in corny kegs, but you what's the idea behind? You like the headspace? You like the build quality?
there was no fermenter available that could go up to the pressures I wanted to go to, because I like to go to 30 psi. It's really hard to find one that's small, compact, has handles on it. And I started on a corny keg, and the corny keg is fine, but you have to seat the seals. So I ended up modifying a Sankey keg. I have 2 gas ports on it and a liquid port coming out the top. So the 2 gas ports originally were for scrubbing, and I stopped scrubbing. I don't do that. That's to get sulfur out of lagers. You can just force CO2 through the lager, and you'll just force the sulfur out. I don't do that anymore. But what you can do is you can vent while you're injecting CO2, and then you can open up the fermenter, and you always have positive pressure in there. And then when you close it back up, I let it continue to vent for another minute or two. And that really seems to help quite a bit with oxygen. So I just went with the Sankey kegs because, well, there was nothing available that I liked, and I just took and made them my own. And but then I do transfer into a corny keg. Corny kegs are really nice to serve out of.
They are easy to use. That's why, that's why they started. They were the industry standard for forever in the soda, in restaurants or whatever.
Easy to clean.
Easy to clean. No, in replacement parts for days, right? It's easy to find. It's easy to maintain.
Right.
They're easy. Wrapping up Lance's question, or just putting a bow on it. Yeah, actually, I don't even know how to. I mean, we did so much covering of it, but I think this is here's where I'll segue, guys. If you're watching at YouTube.com and you're like, God, Wayne was Homebrewer of the Year, but he doesn't know because here's how I do it. Fantastic. Leave it in the comments below.
I love that, because you end up, anytime you have an idea, somebody challenges you on it. They may actually challenge you in such a way that you think, maybe I need to modify what I do or change it completely. So, I mean, I'm always, part of my brewing is always trying to find improvements. Yeah. And the more you improve, the closer you get to perfection, the harder it gets to move any further.
Yeah.
And not saying that I'm anywhere near perfection, but I try to eliminate, the biggest thing I try to eliminate is oxygen. And I just kicked a American lager keg from December, and I was pretty proud because there was no oxidation in it, and it was 4 months old. I said, that's for me, that's quite an accomplishment. So
it is, absolutely. And the fact that you have, you said it's the three beers in the finals this year.
Yeah, three in the,
also an accomplishment.
And I also have 3 in, it's called the U.S. Open championship competition for pros. And so, because I won 3 golds last year in NHC, then that qualifies me to go in there. So those are getting bottled and shipped out Sunday. So a little nervous about that. I've never been up against pros before.
When is that award ceremony or announcements?
And about the same time as NHC.
Whoa.
So it all kind of comes together. It's a really exciting time of the year for me. It's really hectic and it's really nerve-wracking. So, you stick your neck out and say, I entered beers, and then you find out your name isn't even mentioned. So
hypothetically, if let's say you get 3 gold medals this year, just stay with me. Just stay with me. If you did all 3 gold, you could, in theory, be Homebrewer of the Year back to back. Am I right?
No, that's best of show. So
that is best of show. You're right. It's not the medals. That's
Tyler won Ninkasi last year.
Yeah, that's what it was. But if one of yours gets best of show, you will be Homebrewer of the Year. Like that.
Boy, that's
German pills. That German pills.
I don't know. I would just be shocked. Pleasantly shocked. I mean, last year I was beside myself because I came out of nowhere. It wasn't like it was my first time entering, but I did come out of nowhere and pulled that one off. So
absolutely,
I don't know. Let's see if I can do it again.
Yeah, dude, I'm pulling for you, and when I'm there, if you need me to find out who the judges are and bribe them, I'm there for you, buddy. I've got you covered.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's not beneath me. Yeah. I'm a degenerate. It's not beneath me. I'll pull him to the side and be like, "Hey, man, we got to talk." And actually, it's so the anonymity of y'all's entries is such that I wouldn't be able to bribe them anyway. I could not even.
That's what I love about it. Yeah. Nobody knows who this is.
Correct.
and it's just beer up against beer, and that's the greatest part of it. I don't want personalities winning. I want the beer to win. And if you lose, you lose.
No,
that's
correct.
the way it is.
And that's how it should be, especially with something like this, where, like you said, like, is there storytelling to be had? Okay, but it should be the best beer on that day winning, not be, oh, whose intro is this? Oh, now I'm going to give us some more points or whatever. Yeah.
And how hollow a victory would be is if they did it. Well, we did it because you won last year. And it's like, that would be a really hollow victory. And the other one would be really hollow is if, and I don't know how you could do it, but if you had to some way find a way of cheating to do it, and that would just be just such a
if there was a
sucky victory.
If there was a way to cheat, I would figure it out.
I don't think there is, really.
I'd find out a way. Trust me. I'd have trophies if I could find out how. I would just fill, I'm entering the Kolsch, and I'd import Peter's Kolsch and just fill it in the bottles.
We talked about it as what would really be cool, not that you would want to win with this, but you put a commercial example of like Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale and put that into a competition and see what the judges say about it.
I know we have talked about that. That is funny.
But you'd have to tell the administrator, hey, this one can't win. I just want to see what the judges do.
Yeah. Just give me the scorecard. It can't go on. It can't win, but give me the scorecard. I want to see. Yeah. No, I agree with you completely.
That'd be awesome.
That would be fun.
That, by the way, that Pale Ale is, I love that Pale Ale. So everybody does.
Dude, you helped me out. So, I mean, I don't know if you're needing ingredients. What size batches do you brew?
Usually 10. I don't need ingredients. I'm good.
I was going to say, I could ship you a kit.
I load it up with grain and
if you anytime, my friend, if you even want to test out the water patch we've got or any of the yeast, please hit me up. It is worth it to me to ship you whatever you want, dude. I will. I get you taken care of, but I know you. I like that's like that. But that's like when I help coach the kids class at jiu-jitsu and they want to show me a move. I understand that's what I just did to you. Where you're like,
no,
thanks, buddy.
I end up getting too ambitious, and then I do too much, and then I'm tired and pissed off. And my wife says you're in a bad mood, and it's because I bit off more than I could chew. And so I'm learning to. My wife says there's no is a complete sentence. So
well. Teach me how to have ambition, my friend, and then we'll call it even. Like, just teach me. I'm kidding. Yeah, okay. That was for my mom. My mom watches. That was for her. That was for her. But anyways, Roy, Dave, Lance, everybody, thank you so much for submitting questions. Wayne, dude, I love having you on the show. Again, I cannot
being on it.
I sincerely appreciate it. And you obviously are a wealth of knowledge, and I would love to have you as a guest host, and not even just on a single topic, because I know like you and Lorena have quickly become, Lorena, my longtime favorite homebrewers, not just because of the literal accolades and quantifiable reasons, but also the most approachable and down to earth. One reason I really do regret that you're not going to be there at HomebrewCon, I would love to have a beer with you, but I'd love for other people who are homebrewers to meet you in person and just realize how accessible you are. There's no, homebrewing has there's no star status here. It's like, hey, let's talk. I don't care who you are. Let's just talk about beer. Let's talk about brewing.
I have learned from people I've approached who told me, this is what you're doing wrong. This is what you should do, or just talk to them about beer. And I don't want to be, I want to be approachable. I want to share that knowledge because, and I hope that what we said here doesn't lead anyone astray, that it helps them out. But I really enjoy talking about beer. It's one of the few times I can really geek out and not have someone say, just shut the hell up.
You've done too much. Be quiet. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that all the time. But anyways, my friend, thank you so much. I'll have to have you on again soon. And best of luck at NHC.
Thank you so much.